Hi again, folks.
Hey.
It's a cold and blistery afternoon here, but we've got
It's
a
very
different
cold
backdrop
here.
this time. As promised, we're going to talk about our online dating journey, some of the challenges we faced, also some realities of the online dating. We were long distance for a whole year. So the first thing for me was the difference in internet coverage. So over here in the UK, we've got sort of all-round good coverage. Usually always depend on what the coverage was like in Uganda, and not being a great infrastructure for like normal wireless internet. Almost all of the internet that Masika was depending on was just by data from a mobile phone company, and so often that mobile data, that mobile coverage would be down. Quite often we would have calls, and halfway through it would just cut, wouldn't it? Or we'd just have to cut our call, whether that be video call. If the internet coverage, like signal, went down, sometimes we had to go from video just to chatting sometimes. So we had to keep going, didn't we? We had to keep going through the challenges and making sure we spoke at least sort of 6 times a week. We decided early on as well that we were always going to have a day to ourselves. It didn't always work to plan, but sometimes we'd remember about it and say, okay, let's have a day off this week, and then we'd catch up with our own stuff in life and things, because we were both single people before we came together, so we still had a life to lead, washing to do, provisions to get in and things like this. Like, so what do you think about the day off decision that we made?
Of course, we had agreed we can have a day off so that we can have other things done. Considering that my fiance then was working, the time difference, it could be, maybe we could also take that as a challenge coming in between us. Sometimes in the UK it was 3 hours behind, sometimes 2 hours behind, depending on the season. It was a bit challenging trying to catch up on things when he's working, and there's a time halfway when I was also working. We were always struggling to find
the right time to chat and things.
After his work, he has to go shopping, or he has to have food on table and things. So it was just a lot of things in the background going on. Like people who are dating from the same country, and they are maybe like close, same district or same area. I don't think it's the same as when you are dating long distance and overseas.
It definitely made a difference with us, didn't it?
Yeah, we just bear, but it's a bit challenging. In my country, load shedding is like a normal thing. Today you have electricity and tomorrow you don't.
Sometimes electricity would just be completely cut from Masika's home, and she couldn't charge her phone, she couldn't have lights, she couldn't use her cooker, anything like that. And so also that meant, if our phone battery ran out, then we couldn't speak that day. And then sometimes it just happened out of the blue. There was no warning.
Things just happen in Africa, unfortunately, but life has to move on. Somehow it was very challenging for him to cope, I guess. In Europe it's not the same.
You just take it for granted, I think.
Yeah, there are things, things you think they must be in place. And whenever I would explain this, 3 days and you don't have electricity, like seriously, 3-4 days you don't have electricity.
We might be in the middle of like planning something like the visa or something, and we would be time constraints to that, so all of a sudden the electricity would go off, would not be able to do anything towards it for like 3 days. So I found that quite frustrating. Even when we did manage to speak eventually, it was like for a short time, because there just wasn't enough, the phone wasn't able to be charged for long enough and things. And plus you had your work at the time, so you had work to catch up on as well. All these things contributed to making it more difficult to know where each other was coming from in the relationship. Not having the face-to-face contact and the time to actually speak face-to-face as well meant that it was more difficult for us than it would be if people were from the same country, I think, to actually gauge, where our relationship was heading sometime and things like that. And just normal sort of human human sort of thought processes sometimes.
How did you take on the management of time?
Yeah.
If we agreed to meet at a certain time and then African time, and so something just happens.
Sometimes we'd say, like, okay, we're gonna talk at 9 p.m, which would be 6 p.m. my time. And then from my side, it was like, okay, I finish work at 5. I've got to get a quick wash, maybe go to the shop, get some food, cook the food and eat it. And or maybe we would decide, okay, we're going to meet at 7 to have some food together. And so I would do all that. I would finish my work, I would go and do a bit of shopping, cook my food, and it would all be ready for 7 o'clock. And I like my food to be hot. And then we'd come at 7 o'clock, I'd phone, there was no answer. I'd maybe phone about 10 past 7, no answer again. And then I would find out, that her electricity had gone down that day. And again, there was no warning for her either, so it would just suddenly go down. And so I could be waiting there with my food, and I think, okay, I'm just going to eat my food now.
Very frustrating.
Yeah, and I would speak later on, maybe about an hour later.
Or after one day.
After one day sometimes, yeah, because there was just no way, because there was no way of contact. And then I think one time when I think it happened for about sort of 3 or 4 days, and I was getting a bit concerned, and so I texted your brother, but again the message never got through, which told me he was having the same sort of problems. Because you can tell on WhatsApp, when a message gets through, you get 2 grey ticks, and it would stay as 1 grey tick till maybe the next day. And then eventually another brother from another part of the country eventually got back in touch with me and says, Masika just wants you to know that the electricity is still down in her area. She's going to call you as soon as it's back on again, like, you know what I mean? So it's just things like that were just differences to a situation that you wouldn't normally have if you're both from the same country, I think. So quite challenging at times, especially when we were under time constraints about the visa, doing the visa evidence together and filling in the form together and things like this. And so sometimes when the electricity went off or the data was down, it was just frustrating more than anything. When we felt things were difficult, we were able to talk about it, weren't we?
Yeah, and making sure the other person understands the base of everything that is going on, and explain deeply, so that because you come from different cultures, different countries, and it is very good. Actually, this is what we learned and we practiced, just how we communicate. Everything, like we communicate well so that we can be able to understand each other's situation and where we come from.
And that in itself gave us both the measurement that we needed as to where our relationship was going, because you could see we were both willing to communicate and hear each other's point of view, just to understand where each other was coming from. I think that communication time was important for us both. Another thing that we talked about just earlier there was we prayed a lot together, didn't we? Maybe at the start of a conversation, at the end of a conversation, before we said good night, at night time and things. And so I think we both, I'll speak for myself and say that a lot of the time I was acting on faith, and I felt peace, and I felt I was full of faith about things, irrespective of what was going on in the background. I do think that prayer helped. But the other thing we were going to talk about was dating someone from a developing country, and if you are a Christian and you are praying, then God will reveal to you that there may be needs across the water. It's very difficult to get a well-paid job. The job that Masika was doing before, over here we'd be getting paid, you'd be getting paid about sort of £11-12 an hour for, to me there's a huge need there, and for me to be able to eat 3 meals a day and pay all my bills and things, it's like, and to see that Masika up till then had been, you know, living quite a how can I say it, quite a challenging life, really. You're trying to put food on the table, and you always managed to think, but you probably weren't eating as well as you could have and things. And so yeah, God will reveal a need to you.
When we were dating, you knew that I had a garden and I would go to dig like
that's
every
how
weekend.
you feed yourself most of the time. Yeah,
we wanted to be as humble as we can in our relationship, so we still continue doing the things that, you know, take us forward. Whatever our hands can do, we still continue doing. Like me, I wasn't like live a life that is not mine really, but continued having a garden to dig, and I would go there and dig, and he knew it actually.
You never once asked me for any money. I offered some help to buy some food sometimes over there. I could pay for it from over here and things to get delivered to your house. But you know, I would always ask you first, can I help you? Masika, she'd been a certain type of person. She could have asked me to pay for a nicer place for her to stay and things like this. And, but yeah, not once did you ask me for help, which was like a good signal for me, really. I had to be very careful in offering you stuff because I didn't want you thinking that you couldn't sort of manage on your own and things like that. Like, I mean, but for the most part, you were feeding yourself from your garden and things. Lots of different vegetables. Name some of the vegetables you were growing there. Pumpkins.
Lots of vegetables, pumpkins, cassava.
It's like a root vegetable.
Yeah, sukuma wiki. So East Africans know what I'm talking about.
Maize.
Maize, yeah.
Beans. Sometimes you would sell those as well to the restaurants and things.
Not that, you know, a few times when I like hired people, but did it myself with my own hands. So
and plus you were working your job as well, populating websites for employment and things like that, you know, for different jobs for people, like almost like Indeed over here. You were populating those sort of websites, weren't you? So
there was a lot for both of us to do. Individually, we lived that life, humbly that life. We just wanted to make sure we are not suffocating each other. Certain kinds of women can take advantage of that, and when they see that the man is generous and in a position to help, they will do whatever they can, even to lie around just to get that money. As a Christian, I just want to have a clear conscience, and you want, you know, to keep things as simple as you can to enable a relationship to flourish, really.
Normally, to get back to what we were talking about earlier, I would encourage, if you are a Christian believer, to spend a lot of time praying, because a lot of the actions that you do take in a long distance relationship, you need to take on a step of faith, and I think it does give you a feeling of peace if you are praying, and then the actions that come after that, like helping one another, like discussing things, like, you know, help. I feel it all flows from your prayer and your relationship with God, and both of you, because there are lots of stories about, you know, women taking all the man's retirement money, or
even men taking women's,
lots of stories like that. But so I think it's a benefit to us as Christians that we already have a relationship with our God, and we're able to pray through things, just for that extra support, just for that feeling of peace about things.
God gives you that piece of knowledge for you to have as you're dating online. You still have to be very careful.
Wise, yeah.
You have to be wise, and surely when you apply these things, you can test a relationship and see if it is really genuine.
really encourage you to find a way to meet face to face as soon as possible. Without a doubt, face to face. Meet some of our family, some of our friends, or some of his family, some of his friends, and just get an idea
the seriousness
of things, and like the truth of things from what they said up till now. You could do it in a public place. You could meet in a hotel, stay in a hotel, and like we made the decision very early on. We were going to have separate rooms.
We didn't want to tempt each other because we are human beings, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And we had agreed that we will keep it as simple as we can so that the other things can go on smoothly. Yeah,
even to the point of saying, this doesn't need to lead to anything. We're just going to meet each other, find out where each other is coming from, find out, the other person's culture and their life and family and things like this, and then base your future decisions on that, on what happens there.
We're glad we did. We have no losses whatsoever. No. We didn't lose anything to just keep it as clean as possible, and we are proud of it. God helped us.
Definitely that God helped us. In every way when we're across there. Even if a couple of dodgy situations where we found it difficult one particular night to find accommodation. The temptation was there because we could only find a place with one room and 2 beds.
God helped again. We eventually found a room.
If you decide what you want to do and it's in God's will and it's a clean way to do things, if you keep on going, God will find a way for you.
I do think every day that if we hadn't made our standing, that day we would have shared a room, but we still. In somewhere God just provided, and there were better rooms actually. The other room was
That's
really
the amazing
nice.
thing.
We slept like kings and queens in Barara, so that was a bonus.
Good price as well.
And a good price. And it was a Friday, every hotel was full, and that is why it's the reason why we didn't easily find
we had
rooms.
So let you know that we were organised. It's just that the room that we initially booked, because we always made sure we booked a room before we set off that day for the next place. But when we turned up to the place that we were meant to have the room, all the power had gone off. There was no electricity. They couldn't offer us anything. They didn't have time, and there was only one member of staff there, so they couldn't give us a room. They had to turn us away, and that was about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, you can imagine.
And we were, what are we going to do here? But God finds a way. There's always a way with God. And prayed again, and then it was like, an angel guy. A guy had appeared on a motorbike who just, you could tell he was a decent guy.
He guided us.
He guided us to the place where we eventually found a room. So.
Yeah, it's very important if you've decided that a relationship has to be run on godly principles. You really have to live it. You have to do it. You really have to mean what you're doing.
You need to both be of the same mind.
Because surely God does not disappoint. He was always with us all the way. We both saw him working at times when we were almost
what we're going to do,
failed. What are we going to do? This is very tempting, but God was always providing a way. Barara situation is just one of those. There are other situations that we face together. And then we thank God that He enabled us to handle these situations in the best way possible. So
there's other situations we can talk about during the trip where we just felt God's leading and God rescued us for situations and things. In the middle of Kampala, like at remember the traffic jam? It just seemed like it was going nowhere, and God made a way there as well. So, but we can talk about those in future videos. But if you've got any opinions of anything we've talked about, or you've experienced very similar or whatever, like in your dating relationship, please comment. We'd love to hear from you. Take care, like and subscribe please.
We love you.
Bye.